going by caesarean on a Friday night.
He went to the local primary schools and was into sport immediately. Anything with a bat or a ball he was involved with, and that's really the story of his life. He was absolutely mad keen on games, and that's what he wanted to do.
He was always very thoughtful if you were down or if we weren't very well, or if there was anything he could do, he would do it for you.
He wasn't a goody-goody, that's for sure.
He had two lives actually, didn't he? You know, the lives that parents don't know about and the life that we did know about, and afterwards a lot of his friends, on various occasions when they thought we could manage what they were going to tell us, would tell us all sorts of funny things that he'd done that you'd think, oh, Daniel, I don't believe you would do that.
Probably his favourite sport at the time that he died was squash. And he enjoyed playing squash and going to competitions, and that's one of our lasting memories.
Every Wednesday evening he would go across to Harrogate for coaching with the England junior coach, which was really special. He was very proud of that, wasn't he?
Yes.
And now you can't help wondering, what if? You know, what would he be doing now if?
Life is ours, we live it our way.
We'd had the driving, the learning to drive, and then 3 weeks after his test, the accident happened. He had a girlfriend, Tony, who was in year 11 at the time, and that was blossoming and going well. Daniel had said, you know, could they go to the cinema in York, and the arrangement was that he would go and pick Tony up. They would go across country to York and watch the film and then come back. And they had come back, and he dropped Tony off at home and had the accident on the way back from Kirby Moorside. By the time 11:30 came along and he hadn't returned, we knew very quickly something was wrong. We sat around and drank cups of tea and rang the police again. I drove up to Kirby Moorside on the off chance that he was still there. And as I was driving up, I came across 4 black tyre marks on the road to Kirby Moorside, and I stopped, but it was pitch black and there were very few lights around because it's a rural area. And the reality was that the 4 black tyre marks is actually where he went off road, down the embankment, hit the only tree in the hedge, and then the car slid down behind the hedge. And then at about 5:20 in the morning, a police car pulled up outside the door. Would we go and identify this young man who was dead?
And nothing else matters.
We felt as if we were the parents that couldn't look after our child and he died as a result, but it wasn't our fault. But we blamed each other. We blamed the car. It wasn't the car, it was a brand new car. We blamed the weather, but it wasn't raining, it was a reasonable night. We blamed anything and everything and anybody that we could.
Neil, our other son, I disappeared for a while.
Well, he disappeared in that he would come home, drop his school bag, go up to his room and might eat, might not.
He didn't talk to us, and probably even now has difficulty certainly talking about Daniel.
We had friends, local friends around, whose children had gone to the same school since primary school. They'd been friends of our children's friends who couldn't speak to us. They actually crossed the road rather than say, "I'm really sorry, how are you?" And it was 7 or 8 years later I actually met one of these people who crossed the road, and she said, "I couldn't speak to you because I could only imagine what it would be like if I lost my child." And, you know, they just couldn't have conversations with us. So we lost an awful lot of friends as well.
So close, no matter how far.
The funeral day was a day that we weren't looking forward to in many ways.
We arrived at church, as you do, And it was packed. It was absolutely packed with all sorts of people that you just don't think would take the time and effort to come. We decided that we would have his ashes buried in the churchyard at church. The girls would go on his birthday and Valentine's Day, the number of red roses. I'm sure they bought half the shops in Pickering. And we quite often find white roses from Tony. And even now she'll still say, missing you, the same as before.
We miss his presence, his sense of humour, his
kindness, his thought for other people.
Yeah. I think our picture of him would be as he walked out of the house that night. Happy, friendly, supportive, sensitive.
And I would guess, looking at his other friends around, we would have been grandparents by now. And again, you can't help wondering what if he had been here. He would have been a teacher. I know he would have been a teacher because that was his lifelong ambition. And I think he would have been a good teacher.
So close, no matter how far. Couldn't be much more from apart.
That was the day he died.
Yes.
And the day our lives changed forever.
No, nothing else matters.